A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the evening review. My name is Taiwan Jabela, your host. Tonight on the platform, we are welcoming back the Secretary General of Nudo, that is Josef Kauandenge. His party held very important meetings over the weekend, and we just want to hear what unfolded at those meetings. Joseph, it's always a pleasure having you on the platform. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So your party held it's called a National Council, which is equivalent to what other parties call a Central Committee. We are reading today in Namibian Sun that one of the decisions taken at this Congress was to postpone from this meeting was to postpone the Congress. What prompted that?
Well, for starters, the CC that we call, or the National Council that we call this weekend, was preceded by the National Executive Committee meeting on Saturday, where we look at the preparation for Congress, first and foremost, in terms of branches readiness, because you cannot have a Congress without those branches having been constituted legally, for the fear of anybody that might claim that after all this Congress was not properly constituted. So it is important, and it was important for us to look at that aspect and see whether we have done justice to that process. But like any other political party, the issue of establishing branches is a very contentious issue. You go, you establish, people are not happy. Those that lost write letters. It must be resolved. You go back, you hold another elections, and this back and forth. So we had those challenges in some areas where our team went to restructure, but then there were problems. They came back, they reported, and we had to spend another money for them to go and redo these branches and whatnot. So one aspect was that our branches restructured at this point in time are not that enough that we had to really try to at least reach 85% of the branches across the country. That was one reason why that we look at and say, we are not yet ready. And of course, we look at the issue of the finances of the party, because when a person hears that Nudo is getting 2.2 billion from the state coffers, a person thinks that's a lot of money. But what they don't understand is that this money is not given in a lump sum. You are getting it every 3 months in installments. So say 600,000, and from that you have to pay your operational cost and whatnot, and then you also have to do branches at the same time. So we look at our financial physical position and we realize that no, we might not have enough funds left from the exercise of branches restructuring. So we must rather postpone this Congress to the 12th and 13th of July this year.
Okay. Yeah. That is one of some of the sources that have been quoted in this article. There are concerns about. As a matter of fact, I'm hearing that the party has sort of resolved never to have its congresses in an election year again, in order to really contain any divisions that it may you don't want to get into the national election too divided. What can you tell us about that?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's one of the amendments that we want to bring to the Congress, because really to have your Congress in an election year, it's a problematic arrangement. For starters, if at least we could have had our branches restructured last year, by this time we could have made enough savings for our Congress and our election campaign as well. But because the Constitution or the term of office of those that are in the positions now lapsed last year, at the end of last year, and some this year, we had no choice. So now you have two competing important, activities. On one hand, you have to restructure, and on the other hand, you have to prepare the party towards Congress and eventually to the national election, and it's in 1 year. So that is really a problematic arrangement as far as our Constitution is concerned. And from the constitutional amendments that we want to propose is that this should be done away with, that branches restructuring must always take a year before the national elections in Congress.
And what are the other major things? I'm told, for example, that the incumbent president of the party has announced that platform that she will not seek re-election for that position.
Yes, yes. We always have been hearing in newspaper, people been quoted here, running, but at least for the first time, she expressed herself on Sunday and made it categorically very clear that she is not going to run for a second term as party president. She gave her reasons why she doesn't want to run at the meeting, and I think that's what came out from her own mouth at the CC over the weekend.
Yeah, is one of the reasons for many years now we've been hearing that there are very masculine men in Nudo who have been very discontent with being led by a woman. Did she express anything to that effect?
No, she did not express at that point, but of course she have been saying this all along, that perhaps Africa at large and the party in particular was not ready to be led by a woman. I mean, she had made those public pronouncements from time to time, but Saturday she did not. But I don't think that is the reason why she doesn't want to run. Of course, as I have said, she alluded to the fact that perhaps it's time to give to somebody else. She has done her part. She has rewritten history from being the first woman to be party president, especially in our country, of an opposition party. And to her, she has done the best that she could do. So now it's time to give to somebody else.
Yeah. Does that pave the way? Does that make the Josef Kauandenge way now more clearer now to capture that seat?
Yeah, it has lifted a weight from my shoulder, in a sense that everybody knows that I'm really very close to the party president. We came from the same slate, if you can call it like that, in 2019. I campaigned for her vigorously. I was her SG all these 5 years. So we had developed that close connection. And I did not want us to go head to head campaigning for the same position. So yes, from my side at least, it's a weight lifted.
Yeah. Last week there was an article in the Namibian newspaper. It had maybe 5 or 4 faces there of people who have supposedly thrown their names in the hat. Former Councillor Kandorodo, for example, is there. My brother from the city of Windhoek, who was what is his name? The former mayor?
Josef Wapingene.
Yeah, Josef Wapingene. And another name that I can't remember now.
Vice President.
Yeah, Vice President of the party. Yeah. So, where does it stand now in the party in terms of making those pronouncements and availing oneself? Because you have done that yourself. But has there been a platform, or does the constitution of the party provide for a platform where such pronouncements must be made, or do members have the right to get the momentum already going ahead of that platform?
Well, the arrangement is that we had the same CC in January this year. The 26th of January, we had our first CC for the year. And at that meeting, the CC pronounced itself and said that campaign is now open to campaign. Whoever wants to campaign for whatever position, the campaign is now open.
Yeah. So
what we have now are not actually nominees, because nobody nominated us, including me, myself. It's aspirant, right?
Yeah. Aspirants, yes.
Yes. People that have thrown their names, that have indicated in which positions they want to stand. Some some of us have started campaigning. Some have just issued their posters on social media, but you haven't seen them actually campaigning forcefully, but they have just made themselves known that they want to campaign. So the arrangement is that the last CC took a resolution to say, okay, it's fine, you can campaign, whoever wants to campaign, but on condition that you are not going to repeat slate politics, because remember 2019, we really had a very nasty outfall when it comes to this slate politics, where we had two teams, the one that I was with, the current president, Team Nudo, and the other one of VK. And it's something that the party has cautioned seriously to say this time, please, let's not have slate politics. If you want to stand up as Kauandenge and campaign for whatever position, stand up on your own merit and campaign for that position, but don't have a slate behind you, because slate politics is very destructive. So what will happen is that we will go as it is without actually being nominated until Congress, and the actual nomination will take place on the Congress floor. Because you might see somebody pronouncing him or herself today that I'm going to run for presidency, but on the Congress floor, because perhaps of dynamics, perhaps of talking to one another, you might hear that this person have changed their mind and now he wants or she wants to campaign for whatever position. So the actual nomination will then take place on the Congress floor.
Yeah. So the last time we spoke, I think there was an article in the papers, or some articles in the papers, where one of the people who also put up their hands in this wilderness for now, because for now it's wilderness, Barry Rukoro. And you said as a party, I think there was a statement that you issued saying that there was no record of him being a party member and that you were still going to investigate his status in the party. What was the outcome of your research on that?
We, as an SG, I wrote back to Mr. Rukoro to say, well, he actually wrote to say his intention, he wants to stand. I received his intention and I wrote back to him to say, okay, fine. I really don't know. I haven't seen you in the Nudo rank and file, but if you say you are a Nudo member, please provide proof of A, B, C, D in terms of the membership cards, whether you are in good standing, and. So he wrote back and he provided those information.
Okay.
But we wanted a higher body to look at this, because I'm also a little bit now conflicted here, because I could not have been the one to say, no, you are not running, because I'm also running for the same position. So I awaited the National Executive Committee to give this report. I did so on Saturday, and in his wisdom, it was decided to say, okay, we have two conflicting versions here. One that says he's a member, one that says he's not a member. So let's put a small committee to investigate and report back. So that's where we are standing with Mr. Barry Rukoro.
Wonderful. We go for a break and then return with Josef Kauandenge.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
The conversation with Josef Kauandenge continues. Now, in political parties like SWAPO, for example, there's this thing that we saw in 2022, people like Franz Kapofi put up his hand, Tom Alwendo put up his hand, and a few others. And then the party has a policy that says you must have served as a Central Committee member for 5 years, among others, for you to be considered for that, which had not been the case for these two gentlemen. In terms of Nudo, what are some of the basic rules that had to be met, the boxes that had to be ticked for one to be very ratified as a candidate?
Well, for starters, we have what we call a structure in a party called the top 9. So that is the top positions from president to the treasurer. There are 9 positions. So our constitution is very clear that for you to run in one of those positions, you must have served 5 years as a member of the CC, which is our National Council. That's a very important one in our constitution. And you must have been a paid-up member at least for a year, which means now we are taking 2023, at least up to now, you must have been a paid-up member and in good standing. You must produce a valid membership card, and that membership card must be ratified and confirmed by your branch coordinator where you are coming from, because you don't get a membership card just on the street. You must belong to a branch. Even myself as SG, I belong to a branch in Katutura. So that's where I will pay my 120 yearly fee. It's $10 per month. And that's where I will get my membership card. So those are the requirements currently now within our constitution.
Yeah. How confident is the party going into the November election, especially pending a very important process in your party, the congresses that must take place? Because an ordinary member of Nudo would want clarity already now, so that in the months that remain, you know exactly who are your party candidates. Because I suppose your parliamentary list is determined from which platform? Is it the same Congress, or you have
it's
an electoral college?
Electoral college, yeah.
Okay, that will follow after Congress.
Yes.
Okay, so isn't it a bit chaotic that all these things are not sorted out yet?
It is chaotic. It is regrettable, really, because as we say, this is an election year. But I think it's generic, perhaps, in most political parties that the systems, the funds, the infights, they contribute equally also to this delay. But it's not a very good, omen for this year. Because like us, we will have ours in July. That is only 4 months before the national elections.
Yeah.
So whoever takes over have really to pull all the stops to make sure that the party is ready for the November elections. We would have wanted to have it in April as we anticipated, but unfortunately we could not. So what else can we do? It's just to try and hope and pray that come Congress, there will not be chaos, that at least the process will go on irrespective. Whoever lose, even if it is me as an SG, I accept it gracefully and don't start another revolution or factional groupings and start decampaigning the party. I think we have to have that maturity that once you go into an election, there are only 2 outcomes that you must expect.
Yeah.
It's either you win or you lose. And if you lose, you cannot stand there and say, now the party must die because I have lost.
Yeah.
And if we can just get that right, I'm sure 4 months towards the national elections, we will put in fact, we have already started putting the machinery in place for the party to start getting more visible, although we are waiting for the Congress and to see who is going to emerge victorious.
Yeah. This is a legendary party in its own right. It's a party of Clemens Kapoor. It's a party of Barry Rukoro. Do you have members, leaders, including yourself, that match that status that pulled so many voters to the party, do you consider yourself a poster boy of Nudo in a true sense of the word?
Well, if politics was merely based on merits, I don't think Nudo has a better suitable candidate that worked closely with the late Paramount Chief in 2003, that went through the process of growing up, the pains of growing up in politics, and become an ASG for the last 5 years, knowing the party needs and wants in and out, having been with my people wherever they are. I think I'm the right candidate for that, and precisely because at the time when I was 23 years old in 2003, among all the people that were there, older than me, the chief say, this boy must come here next to me. And I became the SG of this party in 2004, young as 24 years old. Yes. And unfortunately, things happen like it happens in politics, and I went. Yeah. So, but taking that history, I think I'm better positioned to take the party forward. And not only that, because I can command quite a sizable number of young people as well. Because the party cannot remain static with 2 seats. Every election, we are just at 2 seats. We must increase our seats in parliament. We must grow as a party. And the defining number now is of young people in this election.
Yeah.
So if you cannot get young people to vote for your party, you will remain there or you reduce, because all our old guards, they have died, some are old, what. So the party needs that face. And honestly, I think I'm that face.
Yeah. So a hypothetical question, Josie. If SWAPO was to extend an olive branch to you like they did to Esther Muinjangue, and say you are the party president, we have not gained our 2/3 majority, we need someone who can, in critical conditions, maybe be with us, although it's not a rule, of course. We want to make you a deputy minister of finance, of health, or whatever other ministry.
Maybe law, because that's my area.
Deputy Minister of Justice. You are reporting to Yvonne Dawsab.
Well, I think knowing the historical background of my party president and the positions that she occupies, what effect it had on the party and what, I won't say no or yes, but the most important thing is that once such an offer comes, you must go back to your people, the constituency that elected you, and put it on the table and say, this is what I got. This is the benefit of this. This is the disadvantage of this. What do we decide? And whatever the outcome, you decide as a collective. If you decide to take, fine. If your masses and your constituency say, no, don't take that position, as a leader, you don't take. Yeah, that's my take on that.
Yeah. Perhaps the final question then to you, Joseph, is what is Nudo's, I know that you still have to go to Congress and maybe come out with your manifestos and stuff like that, but broadly, what is Nudo's aim? Because hypothetically, if you were to win this election, or might be, because this, I mean, people are even talking about the potential of coalitions and stuff like in the central government itself, not at local authority level as it is now. What would be sort of your party's approach to national issues? What are the priorities?
Well, we haven't since our late Paramount Chief, and by the way, just as a reminder, this year we have decided to launch our election campaign on the 2nd of June, which is the date when our late president, Dr. Barry Rukoro, died. So it's now a 10th anniversary. May his soul rest in peace. And on that day, we will do something big for the party. But to your question, we have always believed in a federal system, for the simple reason that the current system that we have does not really help our people. But if we had a federal system where regions had the power, the resources, and their own budgets to be able to address those pertinent issues in their respective areas, I'm sure by now we really could have done so much more, instead of concentrating on this centralized approach. Even when the functions apparently are decentralized, still you have someone here in Windhoek, pulling the strings. So for us as a party, that is the approach that we really wanted as a political party, but unfortunately we are not a federal state. But we will push for more autonomy to the regions, so that the regional councillors, the local authority councillors, because they are the ones with bread and butter issues, can be empowered financially and otherwise in order to address the core issues that affect their people.
Absolutely. Josie, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming around again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That is Josef Kauandenge. He's Secretary General of Nudo, filling us in on the two key meetings that the party had on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. Thank you for watching.